Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update. The afternoon update with Lynlee Foo.
Money FM 89.3, it's Friday. And if you're listening in Singapore, chances are some of you are already planning that quick getaway across the causeway. Johor Bahru has always been a weekend favorite for shopping and dining, but things are about to get much bigger with the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone now in play and the RTS link promising to cut travel to under 10 minutes. JB is gearing up for a transformation. And right at the center of this change is Ascott Coronation Square Johor Bahru, a flagship 5-star hotel that will anchor a major integrated development in the Ibrahim International Business District. It is the first big hospitality deal since the SEZ was announced, and it says a lot about how the cross-border corridor is evolving. Joining me to unpack this is Serena Lim, Chief Growth Officer at the Ascott Limited. Welcome, Serena.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here today.
It's a real pleasure to have you with us this afternoon. Now, Serena, let's get right into it. This was the first hospitality collaboration announced after the JS-SEZ deal in January. So from your perspective as Chief Growth Officer, why is this project so significant, both for Ascott and for the momentum of the Special Economic Zone?
Well, thanks for the question. And before I answer that, perhaps I can give a quick background as to who we are. So in Ascott, we are a global operator with our roots in Singapore. And the way we expand with our efforts in growth is through management contracts and also franchise agreements. And we work with like-minded owners who share the same vision of sustainable growth. And we create lodging offerings to meet the needs of the various areas that we operate. So for this particular project, we are very excited that Coronation Properties, who is the owner of the Ascott Coronation Square Johor Bahru, saw the potential of the JS-SEZ, and they had approached us and they wanted to include a hospitality component into this integrated development. And they are planning to build, hotel, residences, offices, medical suites, and also retail offering. So we're very excited and honored to be part of this development, and we will continue to work hard with our owners to deliver an Ascott property that will meet the needs and requirements of the SEZ. Now, why is this, so special and important to us is because, we're very proud to work with, Coronation Properties to bring the first Ascott into JB. We started in Singapore 41 years ago with the first Ascott on Scott's Road. So being able to plant an Ascott to the nearest neighboring city, if you would, is something that I think, is long overdue.
Yeah.
So we're very excited that we're able, to come in with a excellent owner who is looking to build an integrated development and working alongside us to present the Ascott Coronation Square and to meet the needs of this growing SEZ.
When I first read about this, I thought, wow, because when people hear about agreements like the SEZ, they sometimes feel it's abstract. Having a flagship project like this makes the cross-border vision feel very real, and it also sets the tone for what kind of developments we can expect to follow.
Exactly. And, we are an operator. We have, 14 brands, and more importantly, we have about, 30% of all our revenues are contributed by Southeast Asia. So we have very strong in-market teams also located in Malaysia. And so we follow the growth trajectory of Malaysia very well. And like Coronation Properties, we do feel that, with the enhanced and seamless transition along the causeway, that there will be increased business activities. And with increased business activities, with increased tourism and investment activities, there will be a need for accommodation offerings. And that's where we come in as the global operator of, 14 brands, over 1,000 properties, and in-market expertise. We felt that, for us to be able to drive that experience and to drive the accommodation needs for the SEZ, that's where we come in. And again, we're very excited to be able to partner with Coronation Properties on that.
Yeah, I think the RTS link, which is due to open next year, cutting travel between Singapore and Johor to under 10 minutes, that must be also reshaping demand for hospitality in JB.
For sure. And I think, all of us are very looking forward to the opening of the RTS link. And with the opening of the RTS link, certainly there will be an ease of travel. And also with investments coming from across the region, setting up, various businesses and activities in the SEZ, definitely we see, for example, increase in daily activities. Mm-hmm. There will be, more potential for whether, it's business, education, retail, even residential, for increased daily activities across the border. We also see that, with increased business activity and also business travel flow, that will also trigger a growth in demand for, accommodation and meeting facilities. I think more importantly, and in the space that we operate in, we will see an increase in hospitality demand. And this demand will not just appear in the form of increased occupancies over the weekends with the leisure crowd, mm-hmm. but also on weekdays from that business traveler, coming in. And, the business traveler coming into SEZ would also require, accommodation, more restaurants, more meeting facilities. Mm. And that's where we, as the operator, of this, property, will be able to enhance the experiences of this travel need. And there are also many different opportunities that we can work together, whether it's through, packaging of destinations, as well. So again, I think the RTS link coming in, definitely, I think that we'll definitely see, a new travel pattern, entering into this area.
Wow, sounds like what you're saying is that JB is probably moving beyond being just a spillover city. It's adopting a more global model where hospitality, retail, and I think even healthcare can be interlinked to create a full urban experience.
Well, I think that, the whole SEZ development was created to really serve as an integrated business ecosystem, looking into various purposes, right? Whether it's investments, whether it's businesses, services, education, for example. And we want to be there, right? As a lodging accommodation provider, we want to be there because with increased investments, we'll have, definitely increased travel patterns, right? And they need a place to stay. So where else better to stay at the Ascott, Coronation Square Johor Bahru? And we want to provide, the experiences for the guests, present and also future. And hence, the excitement of working with Coronate Properties to be able to develop that together.
Serena, you mentioned earlier, briefly, that Ascott has already about more than 40 properties in Malaysia. How does Johor fit into your regional growth strategy? And what signals are you seeing from investors right now?
Yeah, so, I mentioned previously that Southeast Asia contributes over 30% of our revenues into Ascott. And so this is a huge playing field for us. And aside from Johor Bahru, we actually see, a rise in requirement for accommodation in regional markets. So in addition to the urban market that we are in, we are also now, entering into regional markets as well as into resort destinations. So if you take a look at Malaysia specifically, other than KL, and JB, we are also in, Penang and Sabah. From a resort side, looking at it from a regional, play, we are also in Bali, we're also in Phuket. So there is, a movement towards, regional destinations. And for us as an operator and with in-market expertise, we are looking at, opportunities where there is demand, and if there's a need for accommodation, that's where we'll go, partnering with like-minded partners and delivering the experience and the product, to our guests to fill that void in that accommodation space. So, I guess, we are looking at, beyond urban cities, resorts, and regional, where there is a play for demand and accommodation need, we will go there.
Okay, coming back closer to home, there's always a question of competition versus complementarity. Do you see Johor's upgraded hospitality offerings as a threat to Singapore's market or as a complementary extension?
I think, whether it's Singapore or Johor, these two destinations have their own unique, differences and unique positioning. And I think, it's about partnerships, it's about working together, it's about working jointly, right, to create, opportunities that both sides, can do better. And ultimately, right, with the SEZ, it's about creating opportunities whereby there will be, investors not just from Singapore, not just from Malaysia, but also regionally as well. And I think that is the focus of this whole creation of this integrated ecosystem.
Right. Well, it's not a zero-sum game, I suppose. The two markets can actually strengthen each other by playing to their respective strengths, I believe. And for travelers and businesses, it could also become a case of why choose when you can have both?
Exactly.
And Serena, by 2029, the hotel will open, and by 2030, the Coronation Square Mall is expected to complete. So when you look ahead, what kind of cross-border ecosystem do you envision between Johor and Singapore?
Well, yes, with the Ascott Coronation Square opening in a few years' time, we will be working very closely together with our owner, as well as to understand really the market needs and to create market-driven experiences and facilities. So that's going to be our focus moving forward, and I think it's also important for us to be, as the first global brand in the SEZ, to be able to provide that sort of experiences for the SEZ, and also in terms of the existing and also of the future demand. So, I from a cross-border perspective, we do see, opening of, new opportunities for investments. We do see opportunities for enhanced accommodation needs, for enhanced food and beverage, for enhanced meeting facilities, and that's where we come in.
Okay. You mentioned earlier about regional areas as well, hospitality in regional countries. How does Johor's hospitality potential compare with other fast-growing destinations in the region?
Yeah, I think that, all destinations go through a growth journey. I think with this particular property and this particular, development, we are, very excited because from an Ascott point of view, as I mentioned before, we started, 41 years ago in Singapore. And so for us to be able to finally launch an Ascott in our closest neighboring city is obviously a very, exciting, part for us. But at the end of the day, it's about being market-driven. It's about doing your research. It's about really understanding the needs of the SEZ and what is required to make it successful. And there are many, different global integrated developments which are happening, worldwide. And it's about learning through them. It's about being receptive, about being market-driven, and to make the changes required, right, for each, development to be successful. So for us, we're using the same approach in the way we will be looking at Ascott in Coronation Square and working closely with the developer on that.
Fantastic. Projects like these and more developments coming up in the coming years, I think that could really redefine how people live, work and travel across the causeway. Thank you so much, Serena, for joining me today on Industry Insight.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
And she is Serena Lim, Chief Growth Officer at the Ascott Limited. We've been exploring how Ascott's Coronation Square Johor Bahru is more than just a hotel. It's actually a symbol of how the GS, SEZ and RTS connectivity are reshaping cross-border hospitality and investment as well. You've been listening to Industry Insight on Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.